definitely had conflicts in the office space. We know that to be true. Some of us, some good, some not so good. But ideally, we want to figure out a simple way of how we can resolve those before we get to that step. So I am going to welcome Victor Johnston up onto the stage to present our breakout session for today.
So there's going to be one little bit of reading directly from this slide that I got to make sure, legal housekeeping wise, right? So the Arbinger Institute owns all rights to the tool we'll be using throughout this thought leadership session, right? I've had the privilege of attending one of the Arbinger Institute's developing and implementing an Outward Mindset course for businesses, and this is why I have the ability to actually provide you guys with the tool and with the methodology that we're going to be using today, because they authorize anyone that's attended to download and utilize the resources, right? So if you have any questions about this or how to use it, or decide that this is a type of tool you want to implement in your organization, feel free to reach out to me. Most importantly, try to keep a student's mind in this. Remember, we're all here to learn, we're all here to grow and evolve, and I want you to have fun. Remember, this is about bringing value. This is about driving something you can take back with you, and if I don't do that, then I'm failing you, right? You paid a lot of money to be able to get here, even if the membership allows you to come for free. So let's go ahead and get moving. All right, so we all experience conflict on an absolute daily basis. We experience conflict both interpersonally and personally. When I say interpersonally, we're talking about within ourselves. All right, think of the stories we've told ourselves over a lot of different things. Okay, someone said something to me and I just didn't like it, made me mad. But did they actually mean to make me mad? How many times have your bosses said something to you in passing and you kind of, the hair on the back of your neck stood up, wanted to engage? You weren't really sure if your boss actually meant something that way. How many times have you had those same issues with your partner? I've heard women get really mad because guys have left shaved hair from their face all through the sink with shaving cream gunk and everything. I've heard guys get mad because makeup is all over the sink. And both sides did either one intentionally do that to upset the other. Some cases, yeah, they did. Some people are petty, but we try not to be, right? So in this particular case, interpersonal conflict is the conflict we have with decisions or behaviors of others. Conflict in the workplace right now costs American businesses approximately $359 billion. That's with a B, $359 billion a year in lost revenue. And what I mean by that is, well, not just lost revenue, but lost money. And the reason I'm going to say money in general is you scare off clients. How many of y'all have been going to a gas station and seeing people arguing? And okay, I'm just trying to get out quick. How many times have you ended up in a conflict at a restaurant? They're like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. How many times have you guys had a coworker who's upset you, who's an integral part? Let's say they're responsible for scheduling things. So you try to go around their head to get things done and it ends up taking longer. You both fight each other constantly and it just takes time. How many of y'all have had to file an HR complaint because someone offended you to the point where, hey, this is an issue now and you got to move forward? Think of all the money that is involved in these processes, especially when it gets into the legal side of the house and there's actual law issues involved. All right, so the actual interpersonal conflict is going to be the focus of this one, and we're going to be using a cool little buzzword that's been trending all over the place thanks to the political environment called collusion. How many of you know what a collusion is in conflict? Fair. A collusion is when you feed the problem that haunts you. And that's specifically what we're going to be working on remedying today. Feeding the problem that haunts you. What I mean by that is, let's say I'm in a hypothetical marriage. And when my wife leaves her clothes on the bedroom floor, I decide to leave the toilet seat up because I don't like seeing her clothes on the bedroom floor. So I respond by leaving the toilet seat up because I know it bothers her. And then when she sees the toilet seat up, she thinks I'm lazy and I don't care about taking care of her wants. So she's not going to worry about making sure her clothes make it into the clothing hamper. She is going to leave them right there on the floor. And it is that the challenge with collusion is not that you have a conflict. The challenge is that both sides feel vindicated. Both sides feel justified. I am only doing this because they did that. And if they didn't do that, I wouldn't have done this. Any of you found yourselves in a situation like that before? Judging by the grins, every single person. Jeez. So think about it in that regard. When we talk about being petty, being spiteful, that's pretty much a collusion. All right? The challenge with collusions is neither side wants to break the cycle because they do feel vindicated and they feel like, well, I'm telling them I did something wrong if I say, or if I stop, if I approach first. But at the end of the day, you just keep going. That little circle just keeps spinning. You get nowhere. So, we see here, I got the doctrinal definition of a collusion up here. And just as I just gave you from a personal kind of thing, think of how many of these exist in your personal lives, exist in your academic life, exist in your professional lives. These are abundant. So when we talk about trying to get through these, there's a lot of value in it, as these are one of the easiest ones to break. It starts with starting with heart. It starts with empathy. So the situations that we see here, the other person deserving it, the other person having to move forward. How do you stop yourself and go, well, the person doesn't deserve it? Or how do you even break that cycle, do you know? How many of you have ever stopped and went, why would a reasonable, rational, decent human being say what that person just said? I want you to think about that. Because usually what do? I can't believe what that butthole said. I can't believe what that jerk said. I can't believe what, and you throw this label on top of them, this dehumanizing. And the purpose is, if they're a monster, you don't need to feel bad. Because if they weren't a monster, you could have interacted with them just fine, right? So dehumanizing them helps you push forward with that. Okay, so one of the examples I'm going to immediately give, Bob and his son, right? So in this particular example, Bob is constantly grounding his son. He says, you can't go out, you're not able to do anything. As soon as you get home on the weekdays, you stay home, because I can't trust you. You don't come back on time for curfew, you don't listen to me, you don't respect my authority, so I got a solution for that. You're grounded. How many of you have been in this situation as a parent? How many of you have been in this situation as a kid? Did you see? That was that grin right there, man. He's got it. He's like, yeah, I've been grounded a lot. So think about that now. How did that make you feel as a child? My parents don't trust me. They don't want to work with me. They don't want to, they don't understand me. And you fight. So when you do manage to go out, in this case, Bob's kid decides, okay, you want to play games? I'm going to leave anyway, because you get home from work an hour later than I do, so good luck finding me. I'm already gone. I'm a teenager. I do what I want, right? And Bob is still left being worried, where's my son at? And he still feels, in this case, both sides feel vindicated. Bob's teenager is going out because dad doesn't trust me, dad doesn't listen to me, doesn't understand me, trying to treat me like a kid. Bob is going, I can't trust my kid, he's not coming home, he's doing all this other stuff, he won't keep his word. Does either one sound wrong? That's the tough part about a collusion. So, in this particular case, what do? How do you break that cycle? Because it's not helping, it's not moving forward, no one feels better, right? So we're going to move into the next one, and I got to scroll down a little bit on here to see which one this one was, but there we go. So now we're going to talk about Judy and her boss. This is going to be one that a lot of you in here are probably going to be familiar with. You've at least seen it in your professional workplaces. All right? Judy feels like her boss does not respect her at all. Anytime she wants to give her opinion on the project, I mean, it's not just like my personal opinion, it is her subject matter expertise. She wants to weigh in on the stuff that she was hired to do, but her boss just walks right by her like, I don't want to hear you. I don't care. And it makes her angry. So every time she interacts with her boss, she feels that her boss is a sexist and a chauvinist. He doesn't respect what she has to say or what she has to do because she's a woman. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of working with this pig, right? In this particular situation, her boss is tired of interacting with her because he feels that every time he interacts with her, she's disrespectful to him. She's rude to him. She has this sarcastic, flippant response to any question he asks her. So his method of dealing with it, because he doesn't want to fire her, he knows she's good at her job, he just avoids her. Doesn't want to talk to her. If I avoid you and I don't talk to you, I ain't got to worry about you going to HR and filing another sexual harassment or sexist complaint against me. Well, in this particular situation, you have both people feeling strongly that they're victimized. And it could have been caused by something as simple as Judy had AirPods in. She had her hair down and had AirPods in and was walking in. And the boss was like, hey, how you doing today? And she just walked by and ignored him. And he felt disrespected. So he got mad that day and he responded. And she felt disrespected. It sounds silly, but this happens all the freaking time. And it costs us a fortune. It embarrasses it makes this strong culture shift in your organizations as people camp up and choose sides and all these other things. And then you have this pain in people's hearts from it, right? So, moving forward from these, notice in each example, there is an action from person B, followed by a reaction from person A that causes the action from person B, right? This is cyclical in nature, and this is the big challenge we face because both sides feel like they are wrong in some way. So when you see the little chart here, right? You see person B does something. So in this case, we'll go ahead and map this to Judy's boss, right? Judy's boss shuts her down in a boardroom. I want to hear from you. Judy responds back with, yeah, of course you don't want to hear from me, you pig. Judy's boss goes right back into the same thing. He's just going to keep going through and it's going to keep cycling out unless we can break that cycle. So in this particular model, we are going to be looking at the Arbinger Institute's tools. So as you see here, this is going to be what we're going to hand out to you guys, and this is going to be the product that you're going to use to work through a collusion that's going live in your environment right now. All right, so on square one, and I want to be able to see, and it's kind of hard from the angle here with these screens, so for once in my life, I'm going to stand in front of a podium as lazy as I am. The first one you're going to start with is going to be on the bottom right-hand side.
Victor, do you want
This is going to be,
you want me to give him the sheet now?
Not yet.
Okay.
It'll be the one that starts with 1. Right? So, what do they do that bothers me? What do they do that bothers me? This is an objective statement. This isn't about how it makes you feel. This is about the behavior. So in Judy's boss's case, Judy gets shut down by her boss. He doesn't want to listen to her. He doesn't care to hear anything she has to say, right? In Bob's son's case, all right, Bob keeps grounding him. Bob keeps grounding him. And he just can't go anywhere during the weekdays, right? So on the second one, you're going to go clockwise from that point. On the second one, it's going to be, how do I see myself? How do I see them? And the emotions that makes you feel. Now, all this will be on the sheet that I give you, so you don't have to take too many notes on this. This is like super easy. Now, how I see myself. In this particular case, let's say I feel like I'm not a valued member of the team. Like in Judy's case, she feels like she's not valued. She feels like, I'm not important to this team. My input's not respected. How do I see them? I feel like John is discriminating against me because I'm African American and a woman. I'm tired of this. We encounter this all the time, and I'm not going to deal with this. It hurts my heart, right? And then the emotions. You think about what's involved with that, and this is where it gets dangerous with a lot of these things, specifically with certain conflicts, because you have anger, you have sadness, you have disappointment, you have feelings of being left out, ostracized. You feel unwelcome, unappreciated, and insert anything else. None of these feelings are good if you want to succeed, right? If you want to humanize somebody else, but that's how you feel about them, that's really hard to do, isn't it? So, on the next one, we're going to look at, this is part 3. This is what do I do? So again, this is the objective statement. This is where you go forward and you identify what behavior you have done in response to them doing it. And it could be something as simple as rolling your eyes. Because when you roll your eyes at somebody, how many of y'all have had your eyes rolled at in the boardroom and you just go, no, it doesn't feel good, does it? Teenager, you're talking to them. Spouse, you're talking to them. You know, it makes it where it's not a comfortable conversation. So we want to be very objective with this block. For this example, whenever Mary receives a project from John, she intentionally holds the project up and makes it take as long as possible to get back at John for not assigning her better projects. So think about that. You can probably guess what John does. He doesn't give her the projects that'll matter, the ones that'll get her promoted, the ones that'll get her the big bonuses. So she tries to get back at him by dragging her butt on the smaller projects because she feels that they're beneath her, and she feels that he's not acknowledging her potential. Now, are either of those actions going to help the other get beyond that behavior, or are they going to end up in a cycle until someone gets fired or someone has a complaint levied against them? So, moving forward on this one, part 4. In this box, we'll be entering the outward mindset, as you will. The goal of this exercise is to remove yourself from the situation and ask yourself, if someone did what happened in box 3 to me, how might I feel? You then answer these questions frankly and honestly. You have to be honest with this one. Really ask yourself, if that same thing happened to me, without the context that you know, how would I feel about it? And in each of those instances, if the same thing would have happened to the other person, chances are they would have been just as offended, right? They would have felt like a victim. But it's hard for them to move on. So, you see on here how they may see themselves in response to your actions. How they are likely to see me because of the way. They're likely emotions. So again, you can go and you can infer a lot of the emotions based upon the first one, right? A lot of them are going to be the same. So the blue line boxes A, B, C, and D correlate to the red line boxes 1, 2, 3, and 4. So A1, B2, C3, and what they do is they provide a little bit of additional dialogue for you, a little bit of additional information. So don't worry about reading it too much. When we get you the sheets and you partner up, it'll be right there for you. So in this case, let's see how we get the video to play on here.
We need sound.
Hold on. So do we have audio for this?
We should. Where'd the guy go? Oh, there he is.
Is the sound
Sorry
up on
about
the
the delay,
laptop?
guys. You know, technical difficulties are always...
Victor, is the sound up on the laptop?
Let's see. Yep, it's up 100%.
There's time, you know, so we can just meet in the parking lot every morning, walking together. Perfect.
Smile. No.
I never smile if I can help it. Showing one's teeth is a submission signal in primates. When someone smiles at me, all I see is a chimpanzee begging for its life.
This came out really well. There you go.
This is humongous. I am not a security threat, and my middle name is Kurt, not Fart.
Look at that, right?
I have another complaint for Jim's permanent file.
Talk to Michael, I gave him the box.
What box?
Are you reporting your snoring?
Oh.
No! 4 years of malfeasance unreported this
Okay,
evidence.
calm down.
No, you calm down. Whose side is Toby on? Whose side are you on?
Hey,
Him or me?
Doc.
Him or me? I can't work with Jim anymore.
Okay.
Either he goes or I go.
Right.
You two, stop. One of us is out of here by the end of today.
Okay.
I'm not bluffing.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Do the right thing here, Michael. Okay, I have served you loyally for years.
Mhm.
I deserve this. You know I do.
You know, your ID says you're a security threat.
You have till 5. Oh, look, Jim. There's a sales manager position open in Stamford. Want me to call Jan and tell her you're interested? I could put in a good word for you, because I'll still be working here. Transfer, transfer. Everybody, transfer, transfer, transfer.
Okay, you two in the conference room with me. Nobody leaves until we work this out. Cage match.
Cage matches? Yeah, they work. How could they not work? If they didn't work, everybody would still be in the cage. Okay, so Dwight, in your own words, someone replaced all my pens and pencils with crayons. I suspect Jim Halpert. Everyone has called me Dwayne all day. I think Jim Halpert paid them to.
Yes. $5 each, and it was totally worth it.
This morning, I found a bloody glove in my desk drawer, and Jim Halpert tried to convince me I committed murder. I think he may be the real murderer. Jim Halpert said there was an abandoned infant in the woman's room. When I went to save the child, I saw Meredith on the can. This morning, I knocked myself in the head with the phone.
That actually took a while. I had to put more and more nickels into his handset until I got used to the weight, and then I just took them all out.
Every time I typed my name, it said diapers.
Just a simple macro. And these actually don't sound that funny, one after another. But he does deserve it, though.
By the end of the day, my desk was about 2 feet closer to the copier.
Yeah, I just moved it an inch every time I went to the bathroom. And that's how I spent my entire day that day.
So I'm sure each and every one of you, maybe not to this caliber, but have experienced office shenanigans like this, haven't you? You know, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna come up now, and we're each gonna grab one of these sheets. The goal is for you to partner up with one other person. If we end up having an odd number of people, we'll have one group of 3, right? And we're gonna start working on getting through this project. And then we're gonna spend a little bit of time talking about some of the stuff we experienced going through it, you know, some of the revelations that occurred. Not so much the feelings, because we know conflict brings bad feelings. So what about the revelations do we have from this? How can we fix things? All right, so let's go ahead and get this going. Things are right up here. Alec, can you hand out some of the sheets?